Hello and welcome back to another deep dive. I want to kick things off today with a scenario that I think is going to feel uncomfortably familiar to probably everyone listening.
I get embracing myself.
You're in a conversation, maybe it's with a partner, maybe a boss, or even a close friend, and you are disagreeing, or at least you think you're disagreeing. You feel like you are miles apart on an issue. But what if you actually stripped away the tone, the history, the anxiety, the bad coffee?
Right.
Are you actually saying different things? Or are you just, for right now, unreadable to each other?
The classic signal-to-noise ratio problem. Yeah, we usually walk into those situations thinking the other person is the enemy. But so often, the real enemy is just distortion.
That distinction right there,
Yeah.
between conflict and distortion, that is the absolute heart of what we're unpacking today. We're looking at the specific energies for tomorrow, which is Thursday, January 29th, 2026.
And I love this, we're doing it in a pretty unique way.
We are. We're taking let's call it the hard data of celestial mechanics, and we're mashing it up with a piece of speculative fiction.
Which, I'll admit, it sounds like an odd pairing on paper. But it works so well. We have an astrological forecast centered on a really specific alignment, and then we have this narrative called A Sutra for the Undistorted from the StoryScope.
Exactly. So we have the map, the astrology, and then we have the legend, which is the story. Our mission today is to decode this concept of clean conversations. We want to figure out how you navigate those really high-stakes talks, whether that's signing a huge business contract or just explaining why your feelings are hurt without, starting World War III.
It's about moving from noise to signal. And honestly, in a world that feels so increasingly loud, being clean in how you communicate isn't just a nice, soft skill anymore. It's becoming a survival strategy.
A survival strategy, I like that.
Yeah. If you can't transmit clearly, you can't connect. Simple as that.
So let's get into the setup. The headline event for tomorrow, January 29th, is a conjunction between Mercury and Venus. Now, I know the basics. Mercury is communication, the messenger. Venus is love, values.
Harmony, aesthetics.
Right. But in the context of a forecast, what does it actually mean when they are conjunct?
Oh, so think of a conjunction like two actors standing on the exact same spot on a stage. They're spotlighted together.
Okay.
They aren't across the room shouting at each other. They're like whispering in the same ear. They have to work in unison. So you have Mercury, which is the mind, how we process data, our logic, how we speak.
And then Venus.
Then Venus, which is our value system. It's what we attract, what we appreciate, our sense of harmony and worth. When they join forces like this, you get this rare synergy where your thoughts and your values finally align.
So it's the end of that classic head versus heart battle.
For a day, yes. Usually your head says, it makes logical sense to take this job, and your values, your heart says, but I hate it. Tomorrow, that battle just stops. They're sitting at the same table, working from the same script.
So we're not just talking about writing a really poetic text message.
Oh, no, not at all. It's much more structural than that. The source actually calls it a relational reset.
A relational reset. Okay.
It creates a condition where these clean conversations we're talking about, they actually become the path of least resistance. You know that feeling when you're trying to say something constructive?
Oh, I know this feeling.
And it just comes out sounding defensive or prickly.
Yeah, you try to say, I need space, and it lands like, get away from me.
Precisely. Well, this energy is the antidote to that. The forecast explicitly says words carry more warmth. It just removes the friction from the machinery of how we interact. It allows for a real meeting of the minds.
That phrase, meeting of the minds, that really stood out to me. It sounds like a chance to fix things.
Yeah.
The source suggests this is a time to resolve those, lingering misunderstandings, like the universe is handing you a mulligan for that argument you botched 3 days ago.
A cosmic mulligan, I love that. But what's really fascinating is that the source emphasizes smarter intimacy. That's the key phrase.
Summer intimacy.
It's not just emotional gushing, it's intelligent connection. It's the ability to articulate why you feel the way you do in a syntax the other person can actually finally parse.
Okay, so that's the theory. But what does that look like in practice? And to answer that, I think we have to step into our second source, the StoryScope narrative. It's set in this place called the Temple of Clear Signal.
I love the world building in this piece. It's just so evocative.
It really is. The source describes this temple, and it's floating just above a city's upper atmosphere. But it's not anchored by gravity or steel or anything. It's anchored by shared intention.
And the monks inside, the order of resonance, they don't have a vow of silence.
No, which is so refreshing for a monastery, right?
Right. They train in alignment. And their core philosophy is what I really want to drill into. Their motto is, noise was not the enemy of truth, but distortion was.
Break that down for me. What's the real difference between noise and distortion here?
Okay, think of it like a radio. Noise is static. It's the background hum of life. You can filter it out, you can talk louder than it. But distortion is when the message itself gets twisted as it travels from my brain to yours. It's when my insecurity changes how I hear your compliment. It's when your fear changes how you interpret my silence.
Wow, that is heavy. And into this temple walks our protagonist, Mara. She's carrying something that I think is one of the most terrifying metaphors for modern anxiety I've ever read. She has a living contract inside her neural interface.
That's a brilliant, terrifying concept.
Mara's trying to merge with another professional collective. She has this legal agreement, right? But the source says the contract lived inside her interface and shifted each time she tried to read it.
This part gave me chills. It says the clauses literally rearranged themselves according to her mood. When she was anxious, the contract looked dangerous, the fonts got all jagged, the terms looked strict. When she was insecure, it looked demanding.
But think about how real that feels. You get an email from your boss. If you're feeling confident, you read and think, okay, standard update.
Yep.
If you're feeling fragile, you didn't sleep well, that same exact email reads like a passive-aggressive attack. Why did they use a period there? Why not an exclamation point?
Exactly. The data didn't change. Your internal filter distorted it. The contract became unreadable because she was projecting all over it. She couldn't see the deal because she was only seeing her own fear.
So she's stuck.
Yeah.
She tells the guide, every time we try to finalize the agreement, something goes wrong.
Yeah.
We're talking around each other.
Yeah.
And the guide, this being made of soft light, doesn't offer her legal advice.
No. The guide just says, you are ready for a clean conversation, and then opens what's called a resonance layer. And this is the perfect visual for that Mercury-Venus conjunction. It's making the invisible mechanics of connection visible.
So in this layer, intentions show up as light. Mars sees her values first. They appear as this pale blue light. And her values are things like autonomy, fairness, creative freedom. Then she sees the other collective's values. Glowing, gold stability, long-term impact, governance.
And here it is. This is the conflict. This is the moment where most business deals, most relationships, they just fail. Mara sees blue and gold. They look different. So she panics. She says, see, we're misaligned.
She equates difference with incompatibility.
Which is the default human reaction, right?
Yeah.
If you want stability and I want freedom, we assume we can't work together. We assume one of us has to lose.
Exactly. But the guide stops her with this just devastating line. The guide says, you are merely unexamined.
Oof. Merely unexamined. That's a very polite way of saying you don't know yourself well enough yet.
It's the necessary sting, though.
Yep.
The guide peels back the layers. Underneath Mara's desire for autonomy, the blue light, is actually a deep desire for trust. She wants to know she's trusted to do her work. And underneath the collective stability, the gold light, isn't a desire to control her. It's a fear of chaos.
And once those deeper layers are revealed, trust and safety from chaos, the colors start to overlap. They don't turn into some muddy brown. They create new colors, green, white.
Which leads to the central insight of this entire deep dive.
Yeah.
If you take one thing away today, it should be this line from the guide.
I know which one you're going to say.
Alignment is not agreement. It is mutual intelligibility.
There it is.
I want to push on that for a second, though. Alignment is not agreement. Doesn't that seem contradictory? If we don't agree, how are we aligned?
We think that to get along, we have to want the exact same things. We both want pizza. Easy. But in complex relationships, business partnerships, marriages, that's just impossible. You are two different people.
Sure.
The guide is saying you don't need to be the same. You just need to be readable to one another. I need to understand why you want stability so clearly that I can work with it, even if what I want is autonomy.
So it's about the signal being clear enough that the other person can interpret it without their own distortion, without their fear. I don't have to be you. I just have to understand you.
Precisely. And in the story, once Mara gets this, the magic happens. The living contract in her head stops jumping around. It stabilizes.
The text stops shifting.
And the source says, the language became simple: boundaries, resources, timelines, ownership. But the shift isn't in the words, it's in her perception. She didn't see those terms as threats anymore. She saw them as invitations.
That is the power of removing distortion. When you understand the why behind someone's boundary, like, My need for quiet in the morning isn't because I hate you, it's because I need to focus. It stops feeling like a rejection. It just becomes information.
It becomes structural support.
Yes. Okay, let's bring this back down to Earth. We have the Mercury-Venus energy for January 29th, and we have this lesson from Mara. How do we apply this tomorrow? I mean, the source material gets very specific about finances.
It really does. It explicitly says this is a prime window for discussions around money, clarifying agreements, or hammering out contracts.
Which is funny because money talks are usually the most distorted talks we have. They're never just about the math.
Never. Money is pure Venus territory. It's value, safety, self-worth. It's deeply emotional. So the forecast says this is about relief through clarity, not avoidance. If you have to revisit a budget or a collaboration or even a prenup, tomorrow's the day.
And the advice is to approach it like Mara. Don't assume the other person is trying to trap you. Assume they have a value underneath it all, like safety or longevity, that you just haven't seen yet.
And this goes for personal relationships, too. The story has this little B-plot with a character named Jalen.
Yeah, this is her ex or an estranged friend. It has that awkward vibe, you know. You used to be close, but now you're strangers.
They've all been there. And under normal circumstances, they would have done that polite dance. How are you? Fine. Good to see you. All lies.
But because they are in the temple of clear signal, they can't hide. The distortion is gone.
Right. So Mara just looks at him and says, I thought you didn't care anymore. And Jalen just blinks and says, I thought you wanted distance.
That moment. It's just tragic.
It is. And the story says they laugh, not because it's funny, but because the cost of that misunderstanding was so incredibly high compared to how small the actual issue was. They lost years of connection over two unverified assumptions.
Conflict is not caused by difference. It is caused by unread signals.
That's the whole synthesis right there. Think about how much energy we waste trying to decode a sigh. Or like you said, a period instead of an exclamation point.
The period versus exclamation point anxiety is the living contract of our generation. We're all just staring at our screens, wondering if our friends secretly hate us.
It's all distortion. The lesson here is that love, or good business, it becomes practical and efficient when you just stop guessing.
However, I have to play the realist here for a second. I don't want to send everyone out thinking tomorrow is going to be completely effortless. The forecast for the 29th isn't all smooth sailing.
No, we have to look at the squares. Astrology is rarely just one flavor. While Mercury and Venus are having this beautiful clarity summit, the moon is doing some tricky maneuvering.
Okay, so specifically, around midday, we have a Gemini moon square Saturn. What does that feel like?
That's a speed bump, a pretty big one. Gemini wants to move fast, think fast, talk fast. Saturn is a wall. It's restriction. It's authority.
So a mental block.
A total mental block. Around noon, you might try to explain something, and you just hit a wall of no from the world. Or you feel your own limitations. You might feel stupid or just silenced.
So if I'm trying to have my clean conversation at noon and it feels like talking to a brick wall, I shouldn't force it.
Correct. Do not push against Saturn. You will lose. Wait it out. Because the bigger shift happens in the afternoon when the moon moves into Cancer.
And Cancer is water. Feelings, home, safety.
Right. The tone shifts from mental to emotional. Reactions will land closer to the heart. People get more sensitive. And then we hit the danger zone. The Cancer moon squares Neptune.
Oh, Neptune. The planet of dreams, fog, illusions. This sounds like the complete opposite of clear signal.
It is. It's the final exam. When the moon, our emotions, squares Neptune, the fog machine, clarity just drops. The source warns. Mixed signals could blur plans, and thinking could be cloudy or idealistic.
So we have Mercury and Venus saying, be clear. And then Neptune in the afternoon saying, or just daydream and misunderstand everything. Maybe they do hate you.
It is a total tug of war. And the specific advice from the source here is crucial. I actually wrote this down. Don't mistake mood for meaning.
Say that again. That feels really important.
Don't mistake mood for meaning. Just because you feel confused or sensitive or weepy in the afternoon doesn't mean the relationship is failing. It doesn't mean the contract is bad.
It just means the weather has changed.
You are in a fog bank. The source says to tend to what is close, let the rest wait. And if you feel that confusion creeping in, you have to stop and ask questions immediately.
That's the safeguard. Don't guess. Don't let that living contract in your head start rewriting itself. Just ask, hey, I'm interpreting what you said as X. Is that accurate?
You have to use the clean conversation technique to cut through the Neptune fog.
It's almost like the universe is setting up a lab exam. It's like, here is the tool Mercury conjunct Venus, and here's the challenge moon square Neptune. Can you use the tool to solve the problem?
That is the perfect way to frame it. The tool is useless if you don't use it when it gets foggy.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to zoom out for a second. We've talked about personal relationships, contracts. But both of our sources today, they touch on something bigger. They talk about society and technology.
This is where it gets systemic. The temple in the story isn't just a therapy retreat. It actually broadcasts a policy called right transmission.
Right transmission. It sounds like a protocol.
It is. It's all about ethical data sharing, transparent algorithms, and collective consent. It's the idea that the systems we build should be designed to reduce distortion, not, amplify it.
And if we look at the astrological forecast,
It predicts important announcements related to data, media, or online platforms involving ethics and values.
it's almost eerie how well those two sources line up. The story is talking about a future where algorithms aren't just trying to keep us addicted, but are actually trying to be clear.
And the insight there is that the personal connects to the societal. If we can't have clean conversations in our own living rooms, how can we possibly build transparent algorithms for our society? The chaos in our social media feeds is just a macro version of the chaos in Mara's neural interface.
So having a clean conversation is actually a form of activism.
In a way, yeah. The story ends with Mara realizing that the future wasn't about building faster systems, but clearer ones. We are so obsessed with speed, faster internet, faster replies, but speed without clarity is just a car crash.
The future is not about faster systems. It is about clearer ones. I am definitely taking that with me.
It changes the whole metric of success, doesn't it? Success isn't how much you communicated, it's how little was distorted.
So bringing it all home, tomorrow, January 29th, we have a real opportunity.
A big one. The planets are aligned for you to stop guessing and start knowing.
Whether it's that contract you've been dreading or that talk with your partner about where this is all going, the energy's there to support you.
But you have to do the work. You have to be willing to look at your own pale blue light, your own values, and explain them without attacking the other person's gold light.
And just watch out for that afternoon fog. If you feel weepy or confused around 4 p.m., grab a tea, sit down, and just remember, it's the weather.
And don't sign the divorce papers during a Neptune square. That's the rule.
Words to live by. Okay, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
Wow.
We talked about Mara's living contract, that document in her head that rewrote itself based on her mood.
Right. Sci-fi horror.
It is. But think about your own self-narrative. If your relationship with yourself, your own internal contract, was a document that rewrote itself every time you felt sad or hungry or tired, would anyone else be able to sign it? Would you even be able to sign it?
That is a profound question. I mean, if your own signal is fluctuating that wildly, you can't really expect anyone else to tune in.
Maybe the first step to alignment isn't changing the other person or even explaining yourself to them. Maybe it's just stabilizing your own signal so that you exist in the same shape for more than 5 minutes at a time.
Stabilization has to come before transmission.
Exactly. Go find your resonance layer, everyone. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.